Maya, look at me when I'm speaking to you. The shout slams through the classroom, so hard that even the windows seem to flinch. Chairs scrape. A pencil rolls off a desk and clatters against the floor. Every kid in room 5B sits up straight, eyes darting between Maya and the furious teacher standing over her. Ms. Patterson's fingers are clenched around a torn piece of paper, the remains of Maya's assignment. The edges flutter like wounded wings. "You think this is a joke," she hisses, holding the shredded page up for everyone to see. "You think you can lie to me? To your classmates? Why would you write something so ridiculous?" Maya's lips part, but no sound comes out. Her eyes are red, her hands shaking, so hard she tries to hide them behind her back. "I didn't lie," she whispers. "I didn't." "Oh, really?" Miss Patterson fires back, louder. "Then why doesn't anything you say match reality? Why do you insist on pretending your father is someone he's not?" A ripple of discomfort passes through the students. One boy mutters, "Could she just stop?" Another leans forward, eyes wide, whispering, "You guys look outside." But no one turns their head. No one breathes too loudly. The tension in the room tightens like a fist. Ms. Patterson steps closer, voice dripping with disdain. "Enough with the stories, Maya. Enough with the fantasies. You lied, and you will apologize." "I didn't lie," Maya says again, this time louder, but her voice cracks and collapses under the weight of the moment. Then, footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Urgent. The hallway erupts with shouting. Walkie-talkies snap open. A teacher from another class calls out, "Everyone stay where you are." Doors open. Doors slam. Something is happening just beyond the thin classroom wall. Ms. Patterson turns toward the noise, annoyed. What on earth is going? The door bursts open before she can finish. A figure fills the doorway. Tall, unmoving, dressed in dark navy blue, metals glinting under the fluorescent lights like tiny shards of lightning. "Maya." The voice is low, controlled, a voice that stops every whisper cold. "I'm here." The room freezes. Breath evaporates. Maya's knees nearly give out. Ms. Patterson stares, her face draining to chalk. Who are you?" He steps fully inside, presence so commanding it seems to pull all the oxygen with him. "I'm the man you said didn't exist." A single gasp breaks the silence. Someone drops a book. The hallway outside erupts into chaos. But the man, he doesn't look at the teacher. He walks straight toward his daughter. To understand how this classroom fractured so quickly, how a moment of humiliation spiraled into something no one at Midtown Elm could have imagined, we have to go back to the day it all began. Before we proceed, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from to support this channel's growth. It's just a push of a button to you, but it means the world to me. Thank you. Now let's get into it. Before the shouting, before the torn paper and the stunned silence that would swallow room 5B whole, Maya Coleman's world was still bright. Midtown Elm Elementary buzzed with its usual Monday morning rhythm. Kids unwrapping Chick-fil-A breakfast biscuits on the bus ramp, teachers clutching steaming coffee cups, and parents weaving through the car line as they rushed toward offices near Piedmont Park. Inside, the hallways smelled of pencil shavings, syrupy waffles, and the faint lemon cleaner the custodians used before dawn. Maya walked through it all with her backpack bouncing lightly against her shoulders, her braids swinging like small pendulums. She was soft-spoken, the kind of kid who listened more than she talked, who teachers called such a sweetheart, and classmates instinctively protected. People liked her. They always had. But the person who loved her most wasn't anywhere near Atlanta most days. Maya slipped into her classroom early, sliding into her seat by the window. She set her tablet upright, checked the time, and whispered to herself, 3 minutes. Every Monday, No matter what corner of the world the Navy had sent him to, her father, Admiral Jonathan Coleman, called at exactly 7:10 a.m. Their ritual, their anchor. When the screen lit up, Maya's face transformed, brightening like someone had turned on a lamp inside her. His uniform collar was visible, the ocean behind him a muted blue. "Good morning, Starshine," he said. "Hi, Daddy," she whispered, glancing around to make sure no one else in the slowly filling classroom heard. He asked about her weekend. She asked if he'd eaten. He promised he was safe. She promised she was trying to be brave. And then, as always, the call ended too soon. By the time the bell rang, Ms. Patterson swept into the room, wearing her usual pressed blouse and clipped smile. She was new that year, efficient, organized, and always evaluating her students through a lens Maya didn't understand but sometimes felt. A raised brow here, a tight smile there. Nothing overt, just sharp edges. "Settle down, class," she said as she passed out the last assignment they'd completed on Friday, the Family Futures Project. Each student had written about who they wanted to become and the person who most inspired them. Maya sat straighter. She had worked on hers for hours, carefully describing her father's service, his rank, his medals, and how she wanted to be just as brave, just as steady. She'd drawn a little ship at the bottom corner, shading it proudly. Ms. Patterson began reading through the stack at her desk, humming occasionally at a sentence she liked, chuckling at a joke one student made about wanting to become a YouTuber millionaire. Then she reached Maya's paper. The hum stopped. Ms. Patterson's eyes slowed, scanning each line with increasing stiffness. Her jaw tightened. She lifted Maya's assignment, as if weighing its truth against her own assumptions. "Maya," she called, her voice cool, unreadable. The class turned. Maya's heart fluttered. Ms. Patterson held the paper between two fingers, her expression hardening. So sharply, so suddenly, that the air in the room seemed to shrink. And in that moment, the first thread of everything that would go wrong began to pull loose. If you were Maya, what would you say to a teacher who doubted your truth in front of everyone? "Maya," Ms. Patterson repeated, voice slicing through the quiet like a cold breeze. "Come to the front, please." The room shifted. Chairs creaked. A few kids exchanged glances, confused but curious. Maya rose slowly, her palms damp, her heart tapping an uneven rhythm against her ribs. She walked toward the front of the classroom, each step feeling heavier than the last. Ms. Patterson held her assignment between two fingers, as though it were something fragile or contaminated. "Class," she began, her tone taking on that too-sweet edge she used when she was about to scold someone publicly, "we need to talk about honesty." Maya blinked up at her. I was honest," she whispered. Ms. Patterson exhaled sharply, the kind of sigh adults use when they're dismissing a child without saying it outright. "Maya, sweetheart, we discussed this. These projects were supposed to be realistic. No exaggerations. No make-believe." A ripple of discomfort passed through the room. A boy in the back frowned. Someone else shifted uneasily in their seat. Maya swallowed. "But it's true. My dad really is." Enough. The word cracked like a ruler against a desk. Ms. Patterson leaned down slightly, voice low but venomous. "There is absolutely no reason to pretend your father is some decorated Navy admiral. There is dignity in normal jobs, Maya. There is no shame in your father being a janitor or handyman. But lying? That's unacceptable." The class fell silent. Maya's lips parted, but no sound came out. Her classmates stared at her, some sympathetic, some stunned, some not knowing what to believe. "My dad isn't," she tried again, her voice trembling. Ms. Patterson straightened and held the paper up for the class to see. "This," she announced, "is what happens when a student chooses fantasy over truth." Then, in one deliberate motion, she tore the assignment down the middle. The sound, paper ripping, felt impossibly loud. Maya flinched as though struck. A murmur rolled through the classroom. Someone gasped. Another kid whispered, "Why would she do that?" Maya's throat burned. Her father's words, her drawing, her pride, reduced to scraps falling like feathers onto the floor. Ms. Patterson crossed her arms. "Go to the office. When you're ready to tell the truth, you may return." Maya's vision blurred. She nodded weakly and turned away, tears already slipping down her cheeks as she hurried out of room 5B. The hallway felt colder than usual. The world felt too big. In the main office, Assistant Principal Green barely looked up from his computer when she entered. "What did you do?" he asked, tone flat. Maya stammered through the story, trying desperately to make him understand. He waved a hand dismissively. "Miss Patterson is strict, but fair. I'm sure you misunderstood her instructions. Just sit over there until she sends word." He didn't ask if she was okay. He didn't ask why she was crying. So Maya sat alone on the hard plastic chair near the window. Minutes folded into an hour. Kids walked past, laughing, heading to lunch, moving through a normal day she was no longer part of. She clutched her backpack to her chest, wishing she could call her dad, wishing more than anything that he could hear her. Miles away, someone was already telling him what happened. She didn't know that yet. What would you have done if you witnessed a classmate being humiliated like Maya was? Maya sat curled in the stiff office chair, silent tears drying on her cheeks, unaware that the story of her humiliation had already escaped the school walls. Across Atlanta, at Delta's operations floor overlooking the runways, her Aunt Deja was ending her shift when she received a text from another parent. Asterisk, something happened to Maya at school. Call the office. Asterisk, Deja didn't walk, she stormed. Her headset dropped onto her desk as she charged into a quiet corner and dialed Midtown Elm Elementary. It took seconds for the receptionist to patch her through, and only moments for the truth to spill out. By the end of the call, Deja's hands shook with fury. She didn't bother driving over. Not yet. She called Jonathan. She expected his voicemail. He told her he wouldn't be back in Georgia until next week. But to her surprise, he answered immediately, the background noise of Hartsfield-Jackson echoing behind him. "Deja, everything okay?" His tone was warm, tired, but steady. "John, it's Maya." Her voice cracked. Something happened at school. The shift in his voice was instant. "What happened to my daughter?" Deja told him everything: Ms. Patterson's accusation, the public tearing of Maya's work, the office dismissing her pain. With each detail, Jonathan Coleman fell quieter. Not raging, not shouting, still as stone. When she finished, there was a long stretch of silence, thick, dangerous, controlled. "Where are you?" Deja finally asked. "Just landed," he replied. "I came home early. Don't tell the school, I'm coming." She didn't respond before the line clicked off. Jonathan stepped away from the crowd of arriving passengers, the decorated shoulder boards of his Navy uniform drawing quick glances. He didn't seem to notice. He made a single call to the Department of Defense Protocol Office. "This is Admiral Jonathan Coleman," he said calmly. "I need immediate escort transportation to a local elementary school. Issue a courtesy notice. No details." Within minutes, a black SUV caravan rolled to the curb, windows tinted, flags mounted. Travelers watched, whispering as Jonathan climbed inside. Midtown Elm Elementary was not prepared. At 12:42 p.m., the school's landline rang. The receptionist answered, expecting a parent. Instead, "This is the Department of Defense Protocol Office. Expect a high-ranking DoD visitor within the hour. Please accommodate." Then the call ended. No rank. No name. No explanation. The rumor wildfire began instantly. "It's a drill," one teacher muttered. No, safety inspection," another insisted. "Maybe a senator," someone guessed. "Or the governor?" Meanwhile, Maya still sat alone, knees tucked to her chest, feeling small and forgotten. Outside, the schoolyard was loud with recess. Kids shrieked, ran, chased soccer balls, until 3 glossy black SUVs turned the corner by Chick-fil-A and slowed in front of the school. Even from the playground, the vehicles looked official, intimidating, important. "Whoa, is that the FBI?" a boy shouted. "Nah, Secret Service. Y'all, we're famous." Inside the office, staff members scrambled to their feet. Papers fell. A mug tipped over. The receptionist nearly tripped trying to stand. "Who is coming?" someone hissed. No one knew. But when the first SUV door opened and Admiral Jonathan Coleman stepped out, towering, decorated, unreadable, every adult in sight felt their breath stop. He wasn't here as an admiral. He was here as a father. As Admiral Coleman walked toward the school, carrying the weight of a father's heartbreak and a leader's responsibility, it makes you realize how many untold stories exist behind quiet faces. If you've been moved by Maya's journey so far, choosing to follow this channel helps keep stories like hers alive. Not for numbers, but for voices that deserve to be heard. Principal Carmichael had just sat down with his afternoon cup of coffee when the receptionist burst into his office. "Sir, you need to come to the front. Now." He frowned, stood, and followed her. But when he reached the glass doors and saw the 3 black SUVs idling in front of the school, his stomach dropped. Flags on the hood. Uniformed escorts. Authority radiating off every polished surface. "Oh no. Oh no, he muttered. He didn't know who was inside, only that someone powerful had been sent here. And he prayed this wasn't connected to whatever misunderstanding Ms. Patterson claimed happened earlier. "Where is she?" he demanded. "Room 5B, the receptionist squeaked. He rushed down the hall, flung open the classroom door, and hissed, "Ms. Patterson." "Hallway. Now." She blinked up from her whiteboard. "Is something wrong?" "Wrong." He pointed toward the distant front doors. "We have federal vehicles parked outside our school. Something is very wrong." Her face paled. Her hands trembled as she set down a marker. "You think this is about the girl? About Maya?" "I don't know," he whispered. "But God, I hope not." Teachers peeked out of classrooms as the rumble of footsteps echoed from the entrance. Students whispered in clusters, bouncing between excitement and fear. The entire school felt electrically charged, buzzing with anticipation. Then the front doors opened. Admiral Jonathan Coleman stepped inside. His uniform was immaculate, dark navy fabric pressed to perfection, metals gleaming under the hallway lights, every detail crisp with authority. Conversations died instantly. The air thickened with silence. "I'm looking for Principal Carmichael," he said. The principal raised a shaky hand. That would be me, sir." The admiral didn't waste a breath. "Take me to my daughter." "Not student. Not child. My daughter." Adults scrambled out of the way. Kids pressed themselves against lockers to watch. The hallway seemed to lengthen as he walked, steady, controlled, impossibly calm for a man carrying so much anger. Ms. Patterson stood rigid near her classroom door as the admiral approached. Her face was ashen. Her throat bobbed with a swallow. "Sir, I didn't know," she stammered. He didn't even look at her. He stepped past her and entered room 5B. The moment Maya saw him, her father, in full uniform, towering and fierce, her backpack slid from her chair. She ran across the room, tears spilling again. "Daddy!" Admiral Coleman dropped to one knee and caught her in his arms. His entire face softened as he held her, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other gripping her shoulder as though anchoring her back into place. "I'm here, sweetheart," he murmured. "You did nothing wrong." The class watched in stunned silence. He rose slowly, keeping one hand on Maya's back, and faced the children. "My daughter told the truth," he said, voice steady but unshakably firm. "And she was punished for it. Service is about humility, integrity, and courage, not assumptions about what a military family looks like." Every word landed like a stone. Miss Patterson trembled at the doorway. The Admiral finally turned his gaze on her, sharp, direct, unmistakably disappointed. "You looked at my daughter," he said quietly, "and decided who she was allowed to be." She opened her mouth, but no sound emerged. He didn't need to raise his voice. His calm was more devastating than any shout. "If you were face to face with Miss Patterson at that moment, what would you say to her?" Miss Patterson didn't utter a word as the district officer escorted her out of the building that same afternoon. The staff watched in stunned silence, some with sympathy, others with disbelief, but no one argued. The weight of her actions hung too heavy in the halls to deny. Her departure felt like a door closing, one that needed to be shut. Once she was gone, Principal Carmichael led Admiral Coleman and Maya to his office. His usually neat desk looked cluttered, as though even it had absorbed the chaos of the day. Carmichael sat forward, elbows on his knees, voice soft but trembling with sincerity. "Maya, Admiral Coleman, I want to apologize," he said, "not just for what happened, but for the environment that allowed it to happen. Your daughter deserved better. You deserved better." The Admiral nodded once, restrained but acknowledged. Maya leaned against her father's side, still clutching the sleeve of his uniform, but calmer now. "We will make it better," Carmichael continued. "I promise." The next morning, the district superintendent arrived with an entire reform packet. It wasn't optional. It wasn't negotiable. It was overdue. Effective immediately. Racial bias and cultural competency training would be mandatory for every educator, substitute, and staff member. A new truth and trust student protection policy would outline strict rules ensuring no child would ever be dismissed or punished for reporting something truthful, especially about their own identity or family. An anonymous reporting system would allow students and parents to file concerns without fear of retribution, and restorative justice circles would be implemented, giving harmed students a voice, a space to speak their truth, and a path to healing. The changes swept through the school with the force of a cleansing wind. Posters went up. Meetings were held. Teachers whispered to each other, some humbled, some motivated, all aware that the standard had shifted. Meanwhile, Maya was given the chance to redo her family heritage project. This time, she didn't sit alone. Half the class gathered around her table, offering glitter pens, colored paper, stickers, and ideas. They drew a miniature aircraft carrier across the top, added stars around her father's portrait, and wrote her title in bold red letters, "My hero, my dad." Maya beamed as she worked, shoulders relaxed, voice steady. For the first time all week, she felt seen. Weeks later, when career day arrived, Admiral Coleman returned, this time invited, welcomed, and celebrated. Students lined the hallway, waving tiny flags and holding posters they'd made in art class. The Admiral walked beside Maya not with the tension of a crisis, but with the pride of a father watching his daughter heal. When he spoke to the students about service, leadership, and integrity, every ear listened. Even teachers leaned in, humbled by the living example standing before them. Maya stood taller beside him, unafraid, knowing her truth had power. As the day drew to a close, Principal Carmichael watched Maya laughing with her classmates and felt a quiet hope settle over him. What happened had been painful, unacceptable, but it had forced change. Real change. In the end, dignity wasn't restored by policies or procedures, but by acknowledging harm, choosing accountability, and believing children when they speak. What would you tell Maya if you had the chance to encourage her after everything she went through? Before you scroll, remember this. Somewhere out there, a kid just like Maya is facing something they don't deserve, and stories like this help their voices get heard. If this moment moved you, even a little, please take a second to like the video and subscribe. It might feel small to you, but to creators like me, it's what keeps these stories alive. And it tells YouTube that voices like Maya's deserve to be seen. Thank you for being the kind of person who stays to the end.